from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Five people are killed after Hurricane Nicole hits Florida's Atlantic coast. Stretches of coastline were already compromised by erosion from Hurricane Ian in late September.
Governor Ron DeSantis has issued a state of emergency to all counties tonight. Damages estimates are not yet known. Well, now the storm may not be as strong, but it is still having a major effect on our area. That's Towson in the top left and the inner harbor there on the right.
On the bottom left, the Fox 45 Chevy Storm Tracker showing road conditions. And on the bottom right, it's dreary in Ocean City as well. Good afternoon, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Let's get right to meteorologist Jasmine Lomax, who's tracking the storm. What can we expect as we move into our weekend?
Thanks, guys. Fortunately, this isn't going to impact us all weekend long, but we will have multiple chances of rain. Here's a current look at what we're seeing on the HD radar. We've got rain around the Baltimore area, a couple of pockets of moderate, even heavy rain, but a lot of this is on the lighter side. And for your commute this evening, this could impact you. As we take a larger look and we zoom out, we do have a tornado watch in place for parts of Virginia into southern Maryland. That includes St. Mary's and Charles counties. That is where we have the primary threat for isolated tornadoes. We've actually had a couple of tornado warnings across parts of Virginia. Those have now been canceled, but we are keeping watch on those areas as they continue to move toward the east and toward the northeast. Taking an even larger look around the region, this is all of the moisture coming in from Nicole. The low pressure, the remnant low that we have from that system is actually around the Carolinas and Georgia, but the moisture extends far from that center. We're dealing with some of those feeder bands across the state right now, but we have more moisture on the way tonight, and even tomorrow, another chance for rain along with gusty winds. I'll time out the impacts here and what to expect for the rest of the weekend coming up in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search for WBFF to get started.
Well, now that we finally know the results of Mayor Brandon Scott's Squeegee Collaborative 4 months after it was created, Fox 45 News is examining all 18 recommendations. Here are the three biggest takeaways.
Squeegee kids will be banned from these 6 major intersections. The enforcement starts January 10th. Drivers will also be held accountable for their behavior toward squeegee kids in those no squeegee zones.
The city will be offering support services. The mayor is calling it Earn and Learn. Squeegee kids will be paid to participate in workforce training for up to a year.
Despite Mayor Brandon Scott unveiling the plan, many of these specifics aren't known at this time. We have live team coverage this afternoon.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live after questioning the mayor again today. And did you learn any more details, Mackenzie?
Maxine, we're starting to learn a little bit more about how this payment or the Earn and Learn program will operate. It sounds like the money will be given to the groups doing the training and then passed on to the participants, but it's still not clear exactly how much money those squeegee kids could be making.
Now we're all together. Good afternoon, everyone.
The reaction to the mayor's squeegee plan, banning the activity at some of the most high-trafficked corners in Baltimore, pouring in.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection.
Buried in the pages of the report, coming from 4 months of conversations, are few details for actual implementation. Beyond the ban, squeegee kids who promise to give up the game can participate in a training program. We're trying to get some clarity on how that exactly will work.
Will the kids themselves be getting the money, or will the money be going toward the organizations giving the training? And we still don't have a price tag on that, correct?
Earn and Learn, right? So we have organizations that we have training programs with that the city funds. What will happen through that, as happens in apprenticeships across this country, is that young people who are were squeegeeing that commit to not doing that and commit to the training programs, commit to the entrepreneurs programs, commit to doing that, will receive funding through that action.
It's still unclear how much money the kids will get or the specific funding sources. We pressed city leaders on how that will be enforced, ensuring the kids actually stay off the corners.
Yes, that actually is explicitly called out in the plan, where you have to commit to not squeegeeing. This is progressive discipline, right? And so when they do wrong, that's when we check them, and that's when we pull them back in. And so, yes, you might lose your incentive, but that doesn't mean that you're going to lose an opportunity.
As for the ban, it begins in January and will come with 2 warnings before a citation is issued. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison makes it clear that is still being developed.
What's the citation that they would get?
We're now developing protocols, policy, training.
So we asked the mayor Friday.
What will the citation be given for if they don't heed the 2 first warnings?
Right, as the police commissioner said yesterday, exactly what he said is what it's going to be. We know, and we also know that every case is going to be different as well.
BPD said that they were still working on it. They didn't exactly know how it was going to work.
We will do it with the laws on the books, as we said yesterday, and we'll continue to do that.
So the laws on the books are now being enforced, but for the last several months they weren't?
No, Mackenzie. Let's go back again. We enforce laws each and every day. We have a plan. There's support for the plan across the board. So let's have you guys do some responsible journalism and work alongside that plan to talk about how things will change. Thank you.
The plan unveiled, but it's clear the details are not ironed out just yet.
Now, so the city says that they'll be working with various groups to provide those services, including the training programs, but it's clear the framework for the actual implementation hasn't been announced yet. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you. Well, we went to President Street in Fayette downtown, one of the hot spots for squeegeeing. Here's what some drivers told us.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
Good thing, bad thing? What do you think of the plan? He's removing 6 no squeegee zones.
Good thing. Good thing.
And you're a squeegee person.
I think it's a good thing.
Why?
Because it's time for us to elevate above this.
Well, at the forefront of those eagerly awaiting solutions to the city's squeegee situation are Baltimore business owners. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spent the day downtown listening to how they feel about the mayor's collaborative plan. Rebecca, I imagine you got an earful from some of those business owners.
Yes, I did, Kai. And some of it was good and some of it was bad. Essentially, the overarching feeling was that they're cautiously optimistic. Many of them telling me that they're hopeful for change, but that it's unclear when that change will come. A lot of them saying that the mayor's collaborative plan, it's unclear, it's confusing, and it's vague. Take a listen.
We saw the map, but are you not allowed to be at President, at Pratt Street, but you can be over here, or you can be over here? I mean, it's like, what does this mean?
How are you going to find children that don't have the money to pay for the fines? Does that make sense to you?
Nothing really has happened. It's been a lot of talk. So everything you see, you immediately go to that eye-rolling, okay, sure.
Now, another issue a lot of them had with this plan is they're asking, why did it take 4 months to come up with, and why isn't it going into effect immediately? Coming up tonight at 5, I'll tell you more about their calls for change and why they're tired of waiting. But for now, reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe Mayor Brandon Scott's squeegee plan will be fully implemented and work? So far, 96% of those who voted say no. We want to hear from you. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Well, Baltimore police say they've made an arrest in the shooting death of 36-year-old Terrell Davis. Officers say Knowledge Hamilton shot and killed Davis and wounded another man on September 14th. It happened on North Calhoun Street near Harlem Square Park. Hamilton faces life in prison if convicted. In a city in crisis, a Mervo High School student may be facing charges after a police source confirmed he had a gun and drugs on campus. Alexa Ashwell is live with what we know about this case and the mayor's response to this troubling trend. Alexa?
Yes, Maxine, we've been keeping track. This is the 6th gun to be recovered, seized from a Baltimore City public school so far this school year. We want to show you a picture of this weapon. Take a look. According to a police source, an officer with Baltimore City Schools Police confiscated the gun and some marijuana from the teen during school hours yesterday. A half dozen guns have been seized from students on city school property less than 3 months into this school year, and comes after a record 15 guns were seized from Baltimore City schools last year. The mayor questioned on just how alarming this is.
Well, no matter where they are, right? If they're on a bus stop, if they're in a school, if they're in a church, if they're in a mall, we're thankful that our school police and the folks at Maryville have the things available for them to be able to get those weapons, right? That's a critical point for us. But when you have lots of people and you have guns, there's a inherent danger in that, and we have to continue. I know I talk to you guys about this every day, basically. But when you see the record amount of guns that this police department is seizing, that means that we have a lot of work to do on the backside to talk about that accountability.
The mayor then going into the new and incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney as well as Governor. More on that at 5.
Alexa, before we let you go, what can you tell us about this student?
Well, Maxine, we know this student, according to the police source, was taken into custody. I'm told he is 18 years old, and we're still waiting to find out whether he will face any charges. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
In Vote 2022 coverage, all of Maryland's federal elections are decided. Incumbent Democrat David Trone beats Republican Neil Parrott in District 6, which spans from Montgomery County to Western Maryland. Now, that means Democrats win 7 of 8 possible House seats in the state.
Well, one race that's still too close to call is Anne Arundel County Executive Republican challenger Jessica Hare has a 6,000 vote lead right now over incumbent Democrat Stuart Pittman, but there are still tens of thousands of votes to be counted. Coming up at 4:30, Amy Simpson will break down that race and what's now causing a delay in counting the votes.
New details tonight from Maryland 529 account holders whose college funds have been frozen for months. The state agency claims a solution to their interest calculation error is around the corner. Now, here's a look at the updated timeline. 2 weeks ago, the Maryland 529 board approved changes to how they calculate interest rates. This month, they'll test and confirm those changes. Then finally, in December, account holders should regain access to the money they've been waiting for months. However, Maryland 529 still isn't providing parents with any hard deadline, so it's unclear when those funds will be made available. Well, people waiting on student loan relief will have to wait a little longer while the Biden administration's plan is on hold. Taking a live look at the Chevy storm tracker as we remain on weather alert. Coming up, meteorologist Jasmine Lomax explains the threats we face as the remnants of Hurricane Nicole move through the area.
Are parts of the Republican Party ready to leave former President Trump behind after some disappointing election results? The calls are growing louder. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington to explain.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Three days after Election Day, it's still unclear which party will control Congress. What is clear is the predicted red wave Republicans expected never truly formed.
Yeah, now some in the party are pointing blame at former President Donald Trump. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman takes a look at the movement to move on.
While Donald Trump relishes the rallies, the headlines these days much harsher, ranging from he needs to disappear to calling Trump the party's biggest loser, a far cry from this promise.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
These the assessments from some Republicans after disappointing election results.
A clear victory for Team Normal.
Trump's kind of a drag on our ticket. I think Donald Trump gives us problems politically.
But they've long been Trump critics. Noteworthy now, the distaste from more loyal conservatives.
If the voters conclude that you're putting your own ego or your own grudges ahead of what's good for the country, they're going to look elsewhere, period.
And a conservative columnist asking aloud, how did it contribute to have Trump attacking one of its candidates trying to make a blue state competitive, or to insult the Senate Minority Leader and his wife? Trump was thinking only of himself. But earlier this fall, we asked top House Republicans if Trump was hurting their chances.
I don't think so. I think President Trump was the best president we've certainly had in my lifetime. Did more what he said he would do than any president I've ever seen.
There's no question that he grew our support in Hispanic communities, in African American communities, and among working class Americans who have felt left behind.
Though some now wondering if he is the one to be left. And after new attacks by Trump on Virginia's Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin, who chose not to engage, his lieutenant governor, also a Republican, spoke up, saying voters want to move on from Trump, and a true leader knows when they've become a liability. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Well, weather alert today on the left. We're taking a live look as rain falls across the region.
And on the right, well, the rain is delaying the start of a holiday tradition in downtown Baltimore. The city announced the Inner Harbor Ice Rink won't open today. Mackenzie Frost is going to be sad about that because she's a phenomenal ice skater. Well, you won't have to wait much longer, though. The ice rink will open tomorrow morning instead. I imagine slushy, Maxine. What do you think?
Yeah, you might want to wait a few days. I don't know. Maybe they'll get it cleaned up. I hope so, because Jasmine is here now, and she's going to tell us tomorrow's looking a little better than today, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow is looking better. There is still the chance for a little bit of rain, but you'll have much more of the day to enjoy some time outside, along with pretty decent temperatures. Here's a current look on the HD radar of what we're seeing. A lot of areas in green indicating light to moderate rain, but as we look a little bit farther south, we've got some yellows indicating more of that moderate rain. This continues to move across our state, and here's a larger look at what we're seeing. We have this tornado watch for all of the areas in yellow, and for our state, that extends to St. Mary's County along with Charles County. The rest of the tornado warning or watch is for parts of Virginia where they already have had several tornado warnings. Those have since expired for this area. And here's a larger look at things and where we're actually tracking what's left of Nicole. That's that low pressure system near the Carolinas and near Georgia. Notice this area of dry air that's actually behind us. That's what's heading our way. We are going to get a break from that rain in just a couple of hours. But then as this cold front continues to push toward the region, we'll have more rain on the way tonight. Currently, we sit at 71. It's rainy and a little breezy with winds out of the south-southeast around 11 miles per hour. Visibility is reduced, so if you're driving this evening, make sure to add some time to your commute. Otherwise, we're seeing temperatures mainly in the 60s and 70s. It's very muggy outside. It feels very tropical with all of that moisture that's moving in. Overnight, again, we have more rain on the way. Temperatures falling to the 50s and 60s, actually keeping things kind of mild. Now, here's what we're seeing. We've got that rain that's going to push out of parts of the state, and then we have a brief period of dry weather and cloudy skies. Then, once we get closer to midnight, rain moves across the state again, possibly a couple of isolated storms within that. We're also talking gusty winds. Fortunately, this does clear out by daybreak tomorrow, and we start the morning with plenty of sunshine. Then as we head into the afternoon, more clouds arrive, and by the evening, the chance for a few stray showers. This does clear out by Sunday morning, and the rest of the day looks better, but you will notice the big change in temperatures. So overnight, expect lows around 63 with the chance for areas of heavy rain. It will be gusty with wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, 68 for the high temperature. A nice day to enjoy a mix of sunshine and clouds. The chance for rain overnight, but we dry out by Sunday. It will be much cooler, 51. Then notice through the week, temperatures stay in the upper 40s and low 50s with lows in the 30s. Back to you.
Well, trending now, officers in Kansas City, Missouri make a life-saving rescue. A 1-month-old baby was suffering from RSV and stopped breathing. Body camera footage shows officers wasting no time administering CPR right away after a few compressions. The baby's airway was cleared. According to doctors, RSV cases have been on the rise from summer 2021 into this fall. We have a live interview next hour with a local doctor to talk about the dangers and offer advice to parents. If Republicans do retake the House of Congress, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy may not lead the GOP. Why a fight for power is brewing in Republican leadership.
Gerstel Academy had its annual Veterans Day ceremony this morning. I'm Olivia Danston. Coming up next, hear from students and veterans about the importance of today.
Paying tribute to our nation's heroes today as Gerstel Academy in Carroll County holds its annual Veterans Day ceremony. Olivia Dance has more after speaking with veterans, students, and local leaders.
To honor our servicemen and women, Gerstel Academy hosted its annual Veterans Day ceremony. Now, due to weather, the event was moved inside, but the morning kicked off with the national anthem and a flag raising. Take a listen. A Veterans Day tradition at Gerstel Academy in Carroll County. The national anthem and flag raising.
James, United States Marine Corps, Major. I served for 11 years.
I was a commander. I served from 1978 to 1998. Morning, Bruce Ryan, Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, 66 through 70, and a Vietnam veteran.
Is followed by veterans sharing their service stories. Among them is current Carroll County Commissioner Richard Weaver, who is also an Army veteran.
Service at age 19 was quite a learning experience, and away from home, first time, and it really had an impact on me.
Those experiences he still carries with him today in his role as commissioner.
One of the major impacts I learned was teamwork. You can do a lot by yourself, but as a team, you can really do a lot.
The sacrifices made by Weaver and all of our servicemen and women can be forgotten from time to time.
We have to keep what the veterans do for this country alive.
For students at Gerstel Academy, Veterans Day is an opportunity to do just that.
As we go on with our individual day-to-day lives, it can be really easy to overlook all of the diligent work and the sacrifices that are made out of our sight by our veterans. So doing so gives us a moment to take a step back and acknowledge all of that hard work they have made and sacrifices they have made for our safety and our freedom.
But they hope Veterans Day is a reminder to appreciate their sacrifice every day.
Here at Gerstel, one of our 5 pillars is history of the last 50 years. And that means making yourself aware of what's going on, and especially what's going on with our veterans, what happened in the past with the wars, so that you can educate yourself.
Encouraging other young people to follow in the Gerstel Academy way.
Young people just need to know about what's going on, learning about the history, and they can't avoid the history, so researching it, getting to talk, if you have the opportunity to talk to some veterans, learn about it, get to know what's going on, and educate yourself.
After the ceremony, students had the opportunity to speak with veterans and hear their stories. And students I spoke to are encouraging other young people to do the same so that we can remember to honor our veterans for more than just a day. For now, reporting in Carroll County, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News. Coming up, it's still a tight race for Anne Arundel County Executive, why we may not know the winner for another several days. And an argument between a boyfriend and a girlfriend ends in assault. What happened and how you can help find the suspect in tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted.
We are tracking the remnants of Hurricane Nicole as they move through the Baltimore area.
Well, we're on weather alert, so let's check in now with meteorologist Jasmine Lomax. What are the potentially damaging risks of this storm, Jasmine?
Well, we've already seen a couple of the risks around the region. The primary threat for us here in Maryland around the Baltimore area is gusty winds. We've already had gusts greater than 20 miles per hour here in Baltimore, but we are also talking the chance for isolated tornadoes. It's a lower threat, but it does exist, so make sure that you are staying weather alert as the system continues to pass. Right now, we're seeing areas of rain around Baltimore, and this extends south. As we look toward Annapolis and areas south, we're seeing those yellows indicating moderate rain. And we expect this to move over the Chesapeake and then over the eastern shore over the next couple of hours. Here's a larger look at things. The greatest threat for isolated tornadoes is going to be in far southern Maryland and parts of Virginia, all of the areas in yellow under a tornado watch. There have already been a few tornado warnings. Those are those red boxes, but those have since cleared. We are still under that threat, though. We're under a marginal risk for strong to severe storms. That's threat level 1 of 5. Areas to our south in the yellow under a slight risk. So we're still under that risk for severe weather. Make sure that you are staying weather alert. Here's a larger look around the region. We've got a cold front that's going to come across the state, leading to more rain. But the low pressure system that you see, that's what's left of Nicole, leading to rain all the way into New England. So I'll time out the impacts that we could see here, and I'll let you know when we finally get a break from the rain coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Well, days after the midterm elections, control of Congress still in limbo. We still have 3 Senate contests that are undecided, but even in the House, Republicans still don't have the numbers they need to secure a majority. Now, here at home, Anne Arundel County hits a snag on its first day of canvassing mail-in ballots. According to the local Board of Elections, one of its 2 ballot scanning machines was down for several hours yesterday. Now, this delay comes as some Anne Arundel County races are waiting on nearly 50,000 mail-in ballots before a winner can be decided. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live right now with the latest. Amy?
Yeah, Kai, so no new mail-in ballots are being counted today because of the Veterans Day holiday. We learned that at least 11,000 of those mail-in ballots were counted yesterday, which is less than was originally projected. According to the Anne Arundel County Board of Elections, one of its 2 ballot scanners suffered an equipment issue yesterday. They say that machine was fixed by 5:30 p.m. and then they scanned ballots until 10 o'clock last night. But now elections workers will be canvassing about 2,500 ballots tomorrow to make up for lost time. The latest data shows that Anne Arundel County received about 50,000 mail-in ballots to count, meaning that this process does still have several days left to go. And our political analyst John Deedy says Annapolis lawmakers need to find a solution to get results out in a timely fashion after Election Day.
The longer it takes to count ballots, the more crazy conspiracy theory stuff happens, and you place more distrust in elections. And you're seeing that right now. Democrats mail in their votes now, and Republicans had some of these early leads, and all of a sudden these leads are going away.
So, Amy, how are candidates reacting to this process as they wait to learn the outcomes of their races?
Yeah, so of course we reported on this, Kai. We know that the race for Anne Arundel County Executive is still one of those races hanging in the balance. Incumbent Democratic County Executive Stuart Pittman told me earlier this week he expected this to come down to the mail-in ballots. But today I spoke to Gary Simmons, who's the Democrat running for House of Delegates in District 12B. That's part of northern Anne Arundel County. He tells me he's both nervous and excited going through this process as a first-time candidate. But he says he is calling for patience as he's waiting for every vote to be counted. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Well, as we wait for election results to trickle in nationally, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, he may be facing an uphill climb regarding his quest to be Speaker of the House should Republicans gain that slim majority. The House Freedom Caucus is lukewarm towards McCarthy. The pro-Trump group has yet to back him and have been putting together a list of demands. They include launching impeachment proceedings against President Joe Biden, as well as investigations into the Biden administration. Those demands are reportedly causing some tension within the GOP.
The Baltimore City Council is on its third reading of a bill to expand their own pension eligibility. That's in response to Question K, which voters overwhelmingly passed Election Day, limiting city council members to 2 consecutive terms.
But as Taylor Stewart shows us, one analyst is pointing out just how much the new pension plan will cost you, the city taxpayer, if it goes through.
FOX45 News is taking a closer look at a bill that would shorten the number of years of service needed for elected leaders to be eligible for a pension. The bill, getting fast-tracked in City Council, cuts pension requirements from 12 years to 8. Adam Andrzejewski from Open the Books saying the measure would amount to millions of taxpayer dollars.
So the real question is, why does a part-time position, elected position, deserve a lifetime pension? Much less to shorten the rules. Like I said, they're going to put in about 30 grand. Taxpayers are going to pay a lifetime pension to life expectancy for up to $500,000.
The bill passed in a subcommittee last week. It's set to go for a full vote this week. Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
And that brings us to our other question of the day. Is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for a city pension while city council members wait 8? So far, 100% of those who voted say no. We want to know what you think. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
Well, an argument between lovers ends with a woman in the hospital and a man on the run. Alexa Ashwell has this week's Maryland's Most Wanted.
Gregory Brookins Grant is accused of brutally assaulting his girlfriend during an argument. He's been on the run for the past year and a half, and now the U.S. Marshal Service needs your help tracking him down. May 2021, Northeast Baltimore. A couple begins arguing inside their home.
Who are you talking to? Who is texting you? Why are you getting phone calls from somebody?
Questions turning into accusations, and the fight escalating.
This individual actually body slammed her to the ground.
Investigators identifying this individual as 30-year-old Gregory Brookins Grant. They say after punching and slamming the woman to the ground, he leaves the home. As for the victim, she's taken to an area hospital where she details to police what happened. Her family by her side.
They actually got her out of the area for several weeks. They're extremely concerned that this individual is going to come back and hurt her.
A concern that still exists today. The U.S. Marshal Service says in the days and weeks and even months after the assault, the woman received threatening phone calls and text messages.
The first was apologetic. The victim was not having it, and then it went into threatening text messages and phone calls that he was going to file charges on her for abuse. And then there's also some other random phone calls that came in of threatening language, which the victim believes was Gregory.
Investigators believe this suspect has likely eluded capture with the help of family or friends. The U.S. Marshal Service stressing he must be brought to justice.
The major concern with anything domestic violence related is if it happened once, it can happen again. If it happened bad, it could happen worse. And we want to make sure that there's no other victims out there.
Take a good look. Brookins Grant stands at about 6 foot and weighs approximately 175 pounds. If you have any information into his whereabouts, you have to contact the U.S. Marshal Service, the tip line number right here, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly right here, 202-819-5058. Remember, you can always remain anonymous and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Making headlines, the United Nations is going to use new data from space to track greenhouse gas emissions on Earth. The UN says the new methane alert system to track potential methane leaks on Earth. The program is intended to help inform companies of major methane sources so they can properly address them. That data is collected using satellite measurements from NASA and other European space agencies. Now, the first data from the program will be published next year.
President Biden makes a big pledge on the world stage.
Thanks to the actions we've taken, I can stand here as President of the United States of America and say with confidence, the United States of America will meet our emissions targets by 2030.
Well, that's what he told the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Egypt. The Biden administration set a target of cutting emissions 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030. That's significantly higher than any other administration has pledged. The plan is reliant upon increasing green energy production, efficiency, and a shift to electric vehicles.
We're proving that good climate policy is good economic policy. It's a strong foundation for durable, resilient, inclusive economic growth. It's driving progress in the private sector. It's driving progress around the world. And the sum total of the actions my administration is taking puts the United States on track to achieve our Paris Agreement goal of reducing emissions 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030.
Biden has pledged billions of dollars in green investments through the bipartisan infrastructure law and Democrat-passed spending packages. Republicans argue that his green push has contributed to the rise in gas prices and inflation.
A federal judge in Texas has blocked President Biden's plan to forgive student loan debt. The judge ruled the program usurped Congress's power to make laws. Now, the White House hasn't commented at this time. The debt forgiveness plan would cancel up to $20,000 in student loan debt for those who make less than $125,000 a year. So far, 22 million borrowers have pre-applied for debt relief. The program was already on hold as a federal court in St. Louis considers an effort by 6 states to block the program. The head of U.S. Customs and Border Protection is being forced out. Chris Mangus was told to resign or be fired as illegal border crossings remain at an all-time high. Mangus told the Los Angeles Times, which broke the story, that Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas gave him the ultimatum. Mangus says he won't step down and defended his record. He's been on the Senate-confirmed job for less than a year. Illegal entry encounters at the southern border were up 37% in September.
And more confusion at Twitter today as the social media platform paused its monthly subscription service after being flooded by imposter accounts. The service was launched less than a week ago, allowing anyone access to a blue check mark for $8 a month. Those checks were previously only granted to public figures after they were vetted by the platform. The pause comes after a number of big-name fake accounts were set up, including for drug maker Eli Lilly and Company, and it falsely tweeted insulin was free. The drug maker's stock dropped, and the company had to clarify that it did not send that tweet. And this comes as the use of racial slurs is on the rise on the platform, as has been since Elon Musk's purchase. That's according to an analysis from the Center for Countering Digital Hate. The group said the number of racial slurs used against black people was 3 times higher than the average of this year since Musk's purchase. The use of slurs against trans people was also up over 50%, and offensive terms against Jewish people and Hispanics has also increased. Your Thanksgiving meal, it's going to cost more than last year. Why inflation is hurting both those who eat turkey and those who raise them.
Shared living spaces, the alternative housing arrangement experts say some are choosing to cut back on costs.
In your consumer alert right now, the stock market is celebrating a better than expected inflation report. The rise in cost year over year was lower than expected, coming in at 7.7%. Now, this is a welcome drop from the month prior at 8.2%, but well above the central bank's preferred rate of 2%.
What's particularly troubling is that the areas where we are seeing the largest and most consistent increases are categories that are absolute necessities.
Well, some of those necessities include gas, which is up 18%, and food, that's up 11%. Your Thanksgiving feast will cost a few extra dollars this year. The farmers say the cost of feed is rising, cutting into their margin as they try to raise turkeys.
If I have to keep buying expensive feed and it continues to go up, then I have to charge whatever it costs to raise that turkey. And at some point, I just don't know if you could sell them.
Well, the national labor shortage is also another challenge as producers say they're struggling to find people to help raise and butcher the turkeys. As rent and mortgage prices rise, some Americans are looking for alternative living arrangements. Dee Gatton has a look at what's known as co-living.
Co-living allows complete strangers to rent a room and share common areas and then split the cost of rent. Many people would agree housing is the biggest part of their budget. Experts say more people of all ages are choosing to live in shared spaces. This in response to a housing shortage and rising housing costs. Will Adams knows about co-living. He tells me he lived with two strangers, splitting the $1,600 rent 3 ways. He tells me he's a single father who tried to become a homeowner but was outbid, and co-living became the only option.
Trying to become a homeowner is a big deal, and so you have to work on your credit. When you finally get there, and then you still realize that to get where you're at now, you got to do so much more, or you got to have so much more money to put down. So it's very disheartening.
As we have more housing supply, it will lessen some of the housing costs. So the solution is about increasing supply, and increasing supply.
And that was National Association of Realtors Chief Economist Lawrence Yoon. He says in some expensive cities like New York and San Francisco, it's fairly normal to see cohabitation. He says what's unusual is this is spreading to more parts of the country as home prices rise. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Dee Gatton.
We continue to monitor the impacts from Nicole. Here's a look at the HD radar and what we're seeing. You can see all of that rain around the Baltimore area starting to move over the Chesapeake and toward the eastern shore. We have a few areas of moderate rain in that yellow, but things are starting to somewhat quiet down behind that area of rain. Notice dry weather is on the way. It will be temporary. Now, we do have a tornado watch in place for parts of Maryland, including St. Mary's and Charles counties. Then the rest of that tornado watch extends into Virginia. This is where we have the greatest threat for severe weather. But now that threat's starting to diminish, still make sure that you are staying weather alert through the evening and even tonight as we have more rain on the way. Here's a look at Nicole. It's just a remnant low at this point, but notice how far that moisture extends all the way into New England. We're also keeping track of this cold front that will arrive tonight, and that's going to lead to more rain across parts of the state. Now, currently, temperatures sit at 71, still dealing with a little bit of rain. Notice how it feels like 72. It is very moist outside. It feels very tropical with all of that warm air moving in. Winds are out of the south-southeast around 11 miles per hour, so it is also breezy. Across the rest of the state, temperatures are mainly in the 50s and 60s, but these numbers will start to come down overnight. We're looking at lows in the 50s and 60s, again, a couple degrees lower than where they are, but again, rain's on the way. Here's a look at what we're tracking. Showers gradually start to clear, and by about 6 p.m., we're talking a brief break from the rain. But closer to midnight, more rain moves across the state, and it could be heavy at times. This does clear out as we head into the morning, and we stay dry for most of the day tomorrow. More clouds arrive by the afternoon, and then the showers follow by the evening and into the night. Now, we're not expecting a washout tomorrow, but it's the evening into the night when you do want to keep watch on the radar if you have plans to be outside. The dry weather finally arrives and sticks around starting on Sunday, but the cool temperatures also settle in. We're talking high temperatures only in the upper 40s and the low 50s. 63 for the low temperature with the chance for heavy rain along with gusty winds. Wind gusts could exceed 30 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, high temperatures around 68 with a mix of sunshine and clouds. It'll be another breezy day, and Sunday will also be breezy. Cooler as well with temperatures around 51, 50 on Monday. Then as we continue the upcoming work week, temperatures stay in the 40s and 50s. Back to you.
Some of these that were detected had 10 times or more that amount. And this can lead to over long-term exposures to cancers.
A group finds 70% of dry shampoo contains a cancer-causing chemical. Coming up at 5 o'clock, the advice from a local doctor to consumers. And pharmaceutical companies will have to pay out major settlements for their role in the opioid crisis. How rehab centers plan to use that money to help those addicted. Earlier this month, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart tentatively agreed to pay at least $12 billion to settle opioid lawsuits, but it's unclear where that money will go. Chet Davis from our Sinclair sister station in Albany talks to a recovery center hoping to benefit from those settlements.
You know, how do we get them where it hurts? And with these large companies, the only way it's going to hurt is financially.
$12 billion will certainly hurt the bottom line for retailers CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart for allegedly mishandling prescriptions of opioid painkillers.
This is an amazing opportunity for states, counties, municipalities to really put money into recovery services, which I hope that's where it goes.
For Ginger Cato, the director of Rob Constantine Recovery Community and Outreach Center, this money is more needed than ever before.
We have two centers. We have more and more people coming through the doors, asking for more services. There are more needs. If we could bring on more staff and expand our centers, we're absolutely going to apply for those monies.
The application process, whether it's applying for grants through the state or local municipalities, is still unclear. What is clear is a need for balanced funding.
Our big ask is, to please, funnel money in our direction. Treatment, very necessary for a lot of people. It's a pathway that we support for people's recovery. Treatment always has a funding stream. They bill insurance companies. We rely on grants and other funding sources. But treatment is finite. It ends. People go into inpatient, maybe they do 28 days, halfway house, inpatient, outpatient, 6 months to a year, they might be finished with their formal treatment, but their recovery is forever.
Cato says her 2 centers in Fulton and Montgomery counties are expecting additional funding next year from previous settlements stemming from the opioid crisis. More than 3,000 lawsuits have been filed against pharmacies, opioid manufacturers, and distributors, accusing them of downplaying the addiction risks of opioids.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, Maryland is seeing a surge in severe respiratory illness affecting children. We get an update, a live update on what hospitals are seeing and doing. And Baltimore outlines a plan to address squeegeeing. Fox 45 News questions Mayor Brandon Scott about the plan and how effective it will be. Our region is seeing the impact of Hurricane Nicole. We're tracking the system live, plus a dramatic change in the weather. Coming up.
The kids themselves be getting the money, or will the money be going toward the organizations?
Fox 45 News is demanding accountability. What Mayor Scott said when we questioned him on his plans to address squeegeeing, and the details not yet known to the public.
Sooner you count, the more trust there is in the system.
And 3 days after voters headed to the polls, some races still haven't been decided. We're following the race for Anne Arundel County Executive, what we're learning about a snag in the first day of mail-in ballots.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We feel very confident in our case, but we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court.
A federal judge says no to the Biden administration's student loan relief plan. This means that 43 million borrowers are waiting as the fate of the plan remains in limbo. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar will join us in a moment with what comes next. But first, it's a weather alert day as the remnants of Hurricane Nicole arrive here in our region. Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Fox 45 News is providing you with live pictures from around the region as Nicole moves through. The rain we're seeing right now is expected to stick around, and in fact, it could intensify in the coming hours.
For what's ahead this evening, let's head over to meteorologist Jasmine Lomax. Hey, Jasmine.
Hey, guys. It's been a pretty gray and gloomy day with the rain that we've had. But I think, Maxine, earlier you mentioned it's been very warm, very humid, especially for this time of year. We've got all of that tropical moisture in the area as we deal with the remnants of Nicole. Here's a look on the HD radar, and notice the rain is actually starting to depart from our area and move toward the eastern shore right now. It's generally moving toward the north-northeast. Behind that, we are talking a little bit of dry weather briefly, but rain is coming back tonight, so we're not completely done with it. Now, the severe threat is primarily for areas to our south, and that includes Charles and St. Mary's counties. However, the severe threat is starting to diminish. Still make sure that you are staying weather alert. We've got low visibility outside and still areas with rain that could become heavy later tonight. Here's a look at what's left of Nicole. That's that remnant low pressure system. But a cold front is going to be our next weather maker, bringing a big change next week. I'll let you know what you can expect coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Jasmine. Well, the rain is delaying the start of a holiday tradition in downtown Baltimore. The city announcing the Inner Harbor Ice Rink. It won't open today as planned. The ice rink will now open tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Make sure you have the free WBFF Weather Authority app close tonight. We'll let you know if any severe storms near your exact location. Just go to your app store and search for WBFF to get started.
Well, here are the three big stories coming up in the next 15 minutes. A federal judge halts President Biden's loan forgiveness program. We have the fate of millions of borrowers waiting for relief.
Another gun found in Baltimore City schools. This after a record number of guns were found in the previous school year. We're demanding accountability on school safety.
First, Fox 45 News digs deeper into plans from the city to address the Squeegee issue. The city admits its plan is an action in the process, and residents may not see the impact right away. Our reporters are standing by with complete coverage of these big stories.
Let's begin with Mackenzie Frost and the new Squeegee plan. Mackenzie, you questioned Mayor Scott today, trying to get some more specific details after the announcement yesterday. What did you find out?
Well, Maxine, we heard some of the big top line issues, right? We know that there will be some enforcement zones at the 6 high traffic areas and intersections around the city. And today we're starting to get a little better idea of how the payments to the Squeegee kids will operate. It appears as if the city will be giving some money to organizations for workforce and educational training and development for the Squeegee kids, who then commit to stay off the corners. But it's unclear how much money that will actually be. Earlier this morning, we had the opportunity to question the mayor about some of the specifics, and I tried to really drill down on the price tag, including how much money the Squeegee kids will be getting.
Earn and learn, right? So we have organizations that we have training programs with that the city funds. What will happen through that, as happens in apprenticeships across this country, is that young people who are we're squeegeeing that commit to not doing that and commit to the training programs, commit to the entrepreneurship programs, commit to doing that, will receive funding through that action.
You can hear there, Maxine, we still don't know exactly how much money will be given to the Squeegee kids who do participate in that training program.
Another big question is, what about the enforcement and citation? Do you have any more information about that, Mackenzie?
Still really unclear and kind of hazy in terms of exactly what laws will be enforced, when we do know that the police department will be issuing citations after 2 warnings. The police department telling us yesterday that they're still developing some of the trainings and protocols for it. Again, I asked the mayor if he had any idea exactly what that would look like. What will the citation be given for if they don't heed the 2 first warnings?
Right, as the police commissioner said yesterday, exactly what he said is what it's going to be. We know, and we also know that every case is going to be different as well.
BPD said that they were still working on it. They didn't exactly know how it was going to work.
We will do it with the laws on the books, as we said yesterday, and we'll continue to do that.
So the laws on the books are now being enforced, but for the last several months they weren't?
No, Mackenzie. Let's go back again. We enforce laws each and every day. We have a plan. There's support for the plan across the board. So let's have you guys do some responsible journalism and work alongside that plan to talk about how things will change. Thank you.
The city saying yesterday that this was a living, breathing plan. There could be some changes made as it's rolled out and implemented. The initial price tag right now is at about $5 million, but again, they say that could change as the implementation begins. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, Mayor Scott, he's facing backlash for his plan because some say he's picking and choosing how to enforce the law.
He's picking the whitest, richest parts of the city, the most business-centric districts, and saying you can't go there if you're poor and black and try to solicit money, but you can go to the poor and black areas and harass those motorists, harass those people.
Our Tom Rogers will have more on the law on panhandling coming up at 5:30.
We went to President Street in Fayette downtown, one of the hotspots for squeegeeing. Here's what drivers told us.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
Good thing, bad thing? What do you think of the plan? He's removing 6 no squeegee zones.
Good thing. Good thing.
And you're a squeegee person.
I think it's a good thing.
Why?
Because it's time for us to elevate above this.
Well, Rebecca Pryor continues our team coverage right now. And Rebecca, you heard from businesses today. What are they saying about the plan that was unveiled yesterday?
Yeah, Kai, well, for the most part, the business owners that I spoke with, they're cautiously optimistic. They tell me that they're hopeful this change will come, but that it seems unclear when that change will actually arrive, and they're tired of waiting.
It's a daily topic of conversation and frustration.
I mean, it's been 4 months. What took 4 months to come up with this plan?
It's a proposal Baltimore's business community have been anxiously awaiting.
I jumped in, hooray, I'm so happy. Finally, we're getting some help.
On top of recovering from a pandemic, soaring inflation, and a rise in crime, many say the city's squeegee situation has been bad for business.
People are hesitant about coming downtown. And now that they see these police cars sitting there with their sirens on,
it's not a welcoming sign to Baltimore.
So when the Mayor's Squeegee Collaborative announced a slew of newfound solutions, at first, Beth Hawks, the owner of Zelda Zen in Fells Point, was optimistic.
At least the conversation has been started.
But after further reviewing the new plans and policies, Hawks was left with more questions than answers.
We saw the map, but are you not allowed to be at President, at Pratt Street, but you can be over here, or you can be over here? I mean, it's like, what does this mean?
Confusion and concern can also be felt in Little Italy.
How are you going to fine children that don't have the money to pay for the fines? Does that make sense to you?
It's been a lot of talk. So everything you see, you immediately go to that eye-rolling, okay, sure.
A local hairstylist who asked we only refer to her by her first name, Corinne, saying she's lost several clients who aren't willing to drive by squeegee kids to get to her salon anymore.
People saying, oh, yeah, I'm coming down, but my wife isn't comfortable coming down anymore.
She doesn't think banning squeegee kids from high traffic zones will be enough. If the city can't guarantee they'll panhandle peacefully, she wants them off the streets completely.
I would like to not encounter the squeegee workers, or if they're there, just to be respectful. I think that's all really anyone is asking. It's the harassment part.
I think it needs a clean sweep off of all those areas. It can't not just be one intersection.
The owner of Gia's Cafe, Gianna Blatterman, feels the same.
Children shouldn't be in the middle of the street.
Overall, many are happy conversations are happening and the issue is being acknowledged. They're just not sure this plan will bring the change they're so desperately calling for.
Honestly, I think it's a start, but I don't think this is going to help.
We have to find a way to get them something better to do. So I hope that that's what the initiative is really about.
It should have been implemented today, not January 10th.
And obviously, squeegeeing isn't a new issue. This has been around for years, which is why businesses are so frustrated and they're calling for change and they're calling for it now. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe Mayor Scott's squeegee plan will be fully implemented and work? So far, 99% of those who voted say no. We want to hear from you. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in, and we'll check back in on the results. The poll coming up at 5:30.
Well, crisis in the classroom. A Mervo High School student may be facing charges after police source confirmed he had a gun and drugs on campus.
Alexa Ashwell is live right now with what we know about the case and the mayor's response to this trend. Alexa?
Yes, this is the sixth gun to be seized from a Baltimore City public school so far this school year. According to the police source, the student, 18 years old.
Here, an image of the gun found inside Mervo High School. A police source confirming it was confiscated along with drugs from an 18-year-old student. That student taken into custody.
We're thankful that our school police and the folks at Mervo have the things available for them to be able to get those weapons, right? That's a critical point for us.
The mayor responding to what's become a troubling trend. This marks the sixth gun recovered from a Baltimore City school less than 3 months into the school year, and comes after a record 15 guns were seized from Baltimore City schools last year. You may also recall just this past September when a student was shot and killed in the parking lot of Mervo High School during dismissal.
This is a all hands on deck, a needed approach, and I know now we're going to be able to take that work even further.
The mayor speaking to new and incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Governor-elect Wes Moore, hoping more can be done when it comes to consequence and accountability.
When you see the record amount of guns that this police department is seizing, that means that we have a lot of work to do on the backside to talk about that accountability as well. And that's what I am so excited about now, working with our new state's attorney and our new governor to fix and work on things in the system to create that accountability after arrest, because we, the school police, BPD, can continue to seize and make record amounts of gun arrests, but it's also about what happens on the backside.
And we checked, no injuries were reported. The case remains under investigation. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
What I think we would try to do is to minimize the exposures that we can minimize.
A warning today about dry shampoo. A private lab finding a majority of them contain a cancer-causing chemical. We break down the alert and advice for you.
Maryland is seeing a surge in severe respiratory illnesses affecting children. We're getting a live update on what hospitals are seeing and advice to parents.
President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan hitting another wall in court. I'm Atra Al-Nashar with what it means for the tens of millions of borrowers who were promised relief.
And I'm tracking rain moving across the state as we deal with the remnants from Nicole. I'll let you know when the rain finally ends and the big change coming next week in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
An education alert now for Maryland 529 account holders whose college funds have been frozen for months. The state agency claims the solution to their interest calculation error is just around the corner. So here's a look at their updated timeline. 2 weeks ago, Maryland's 529's board approved changes to how they calculate interest rates. This month, they'll test and confirm those changes. Then finally, in December, account holders should regain access to the money they've been waiting months for. However, Maryland 529 still isn't providing parents with any hard deadline, so it remains unclear when exactly those funds will be made available.
Live pictures from the White House, where President Biden's loan forgiveness program has hit a snag. A federal judge in Texas struck down the president's plan, saying it lacked clear congressional authority.
Well, that plan, according to the White House, would impact 43 million borrowers. National correspondent Atra Anashar reports on what comes next.
The 26 million Americans who owe federal student loans and already applied for forgiveness want to know, will they or won't they get what was promised by the president?
This is a game changer for so many people.
Trump-nominated District Court Judge Mark Pittman of Texas striking down the president's student loan forgiveness plan, calling it an unconstitutional exercise of Congress's legislative power. The Department of Justice already filing an appeal. In the meantime, the Department of Education pausing applications. The administration argues they do have authority to forgive loans under the 2003 Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act. The lawsuit brought by the conservative Job Creators Network, representing 2 Texans with student debt who do not qualify for forgiveness, claiming they were arbitrarily excluded from the program and that the implementation didn't follow the Administrative Procedure Act's formal notice and comment rule. George Washington University law professor Alan Morrison says their argument is flawed.
The remedy now would be to require the agency to go through that procedure and consider giving people more money. It would not be the remedy to cut off the money from the people who already have it.
The Job Creators Network reacting to the ruling.
We feel very confident in our case, but we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court.
And it may come to that. However, Justice Amy Coney Barrett's already dismissed 2 separate cases challenging the president's plan.
But another option for implementing the plan can be found across the street in Congress through legislation, which is how the president originally wanted to get this done. Midterm ballots still being counted, but the balance of power in Washington doesn't appear to be shaping up in a way that would deliver enough Democratic votes to pass the president's forgiveness plan into law. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atra Nashar reporting.
We've been telling you Fox 45 is on weather alert right now because of the remnants of Hurricane Nicole. And as we look at live conditions from around the region, you can see, and you've felt it out there, it's kind of a rainy day. But the big story right now is the brunt of the storm is a couple of hours away from us.
Yeah, let's check in now with Jasmine Lomax with the very latest on this system and what it's looking like the rest of tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it really hasn't been a great start to the weekend. We had rain. We're starting to get a little bit of a break from it, but more is on the way. However, the entire weekend won't be a washout, so if you plan on spending any time outside, you'll have a few opportunities to do that, but be prepared for a big change by the end of the weekend. Here's a look at the HD radar, and the rain that we're seeing right now is starting to push toward the eastern shore. We're seeing some moderate rain around Chestertown and Denton, and then behind that, some dry air starting to move in. Now, this is temporary. Here's a larger look around the region, and we're actually seeing that tornado watch still in place through about 6 p.m. That includes St. Mary's. Actually, it looks like they were just dropped from that. So Charles County and St. Mary's County now out of that tornado watch. The severe threat is starting to diminish, and that, of course, is good news, but more rain's on the way. Notice that low-pressure system, that's what's left of Nicole, and we're keeping watch of this cold front that's moving across the country. We have rain ahead of that, and that's all headed our way tonight. Now, there could be an isolated storm within that, but we're mainly just talking rain as we head into the night. 71 for the current temperature and a nice view of the harbor in the background. Still a little bit breezy right now, and visibility is slightly reduced. Make sure that you are driving safely on the roads this evening. Otherwise, temperature is mainly in the 50s and 60s. It's been an unseasonably warm day, very muggy as well. But overnight, those temperatures do start to fall. We're still talking in the 50s through the low to mid 60s for many of us. That's above average, but a big cool down is on the way. Notice that rain's starting to clear on the future scan. We have a brief moment of dry weather, but then it comes back as we get close to midnight. The rain starts to move back in. We're talking areas of heavy rain, possibly. That clears out by tomorrow daybreak. Then by the afternoon, more clouds roll in, and we have the chance for a few showers as we head into the night. These also clear out by daybreak on Sunday. That'll be a day that you can spend some time outside, but you may want to have the layers with you. It will be much cooler. 63 for the low temperature. Then tomorrow, not a big rise. Highs around 68 with a mix of sunshine and clouds. It will be a little bit breezy at times, but it'll be breezy on Sunday, and it's also going to be kind of cold. Temperature is around 51 for the high, 50 on Monday. Then we're in the 40s, low temperatures in the 30s, and we stay in the 40s and 50s as we finish the work week. Back to you.
Anne Arundel County voters still waiting to find out who their county executive is going to be. The major snag election officials hit today on the first day of counting those mail-in ballots. Mayor Brandon Scott outlines a plan to address squeegeeing in Baltimore, while some say that plan is not complete. But first, a group finds 70% of dry shampoo contains a cancer-causing chemical. Coming up, the advice from a local doctor to consumers. Well, a warning tonight to consumers. An independent lab has found a huge percentage of dry shampoo on the market contains a cancer-causing chemical. Our Megan Gillen has details and advice for you.
An independent lab called Valisure has detected high levels of benzene, an ingredient known to cause cancer in humans, in several brands of dry shampoo. In fact, 70% of samples they tested had quantifiable levels of benzene. Dr. Chris D'Adamo with this advice for consumers.
It's likely a cumulative exposure issue, but when you spray those on, usually in aerosol form, it can linger. Some of these that were detected had 10 times or more that amount. And this can lead to over long-term exposures to cancers and other bad outcomes.
Part of your brain is going to be very scared and be worried about this. The other part is going to say everything these days can cause cancer. And where do we find the fact, the truth between those two lines?
Right. What I think we need to think about is the cumulative exposures, everything that we get exposed to in our environment. So, and that's all the more reason to make choices when we can. So the air we breathe has benzene, especially if you're around highways or, you know, at a gas station pumping gas, which contains benzene. Right. So I think what we try to do is to minimize the exposures that we can minimize. All right. I mean, that's really the best advice. And there are other shampoo alternatives that we can utilize.
As a result of its findings, the lab is now asking for a recall of the contaminated batches and is requesting the FDA better define limits for benzene contamination in cosmetics and other regulated products. I'm Megan Gilland, Fox 45 News.
An exciting day for young Black Panther fans in Baltimore. Why a screening this morning was so meaningful. And our nation celebrates Veterans today. We'll take you to Carroll County for the heartwarming moment between students and the veterans they are honoring. And the race for county executive in Anne Arundel County could be decided by mail-in ballots. Sammy Simpson is following the count and the hiccup today.
And we continue to track a weather alert. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. We're live in the Fox 45 Chevy Storm Tracker as the evening commute continues on a very rainy note. The rain we're seeing all around our region is the remnants of Hurricane Nicole. The big story this hour is the brunt of the storm. It hasn't even gotten here yet.
Yeah, if you have any plans tonight, you might have to adjust them a little bit. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax is here with the latest on the forecast. I guess, Jasmine, if there's any good news about this, the temperature wasn't bad today.
Yeah, that's right. It really wasn't that bad. Of course, we had those numbers in the 80s. Not quite that warm, but it was very muggy. Highs were in the 70s, still there now, actually. So very unseasonable weather. It's felt very tropical as we've dealt with that tropical moisture from Nicole. Here's a look on the HD radar and notice that we're actually starting to dry out right now. This is just temporary. We do have more rain coming tonight, so don't let your guards down just yet. Rain's now moving over the eastern shore and continuing to move toward the northeast. Now, as we take a larger look at things, notice that severe threat is starting to diminish. Areas in yellow are under a tornado watch, and that has now been canceled for St. Mary's and Charles counties. However, again, we still have rain on the way tonight. I'll break down the timing and what to expect for the rest of the weekend coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Make sure you have the free WBFF Weather Authority app close tonight. We'll let you know if any severe storms near your exact location come about. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax will be updating all of that information. By the way, you can also go to the App Store and search for WBFF to get started.
3 days after the midterm elections, control of Congress still in limbo. We have 3 Senate contests that are undecided, but even in the House, Republicans still don't have the numbers they need to secure a majority there.
Now, all of Maryland's federal elections have been decided. Incumbent Democrat David Trone beat Republican Neil Parrott in District 6. That spans from Montgomery County to Western Maryland, and that means Democrats win 7 of 8 possible House seats in the state.
It's a close race, and one race that's still too close to call is Anne Arundel County Executive. Republican challenger Jessica Hare has a 6,000 vote lead over incumbent Democrat Stuart Pittman, but there are still tens of thousands of those mail-in votes to count. And one reason that race is still undecided is because the local board of elections admits one of its 2 ballot scanning machines was down for several hours yesterday on its first day of canvassing those mail-in ballots.
And Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the latest developments.
No new mail-in ballots are being counted today in Anne Arundel County because of the Veterans Day holiday. But we've learned because of that ballot scanning issue yesterday, elections workers will be heading in tomorrow to count ballots and pick up where they left off. A look inside the room Thursday on day 1 of canvassing mail-in ballots in Anne Arundel County. Today, Fox 45 News learning around 11,000 ballots were canvassed yesterday, less than originally projected, after one of Anne Arundel's ballot scanners suffered an equipment issue. That machine then fixed and ballots scanned until 10 p.m. last night. The Board of Elections says another 2,500 mail-in ballots will be scanned tomorrow to make up for lost time. Anne Arundel County, one of several Maryland jurisdictions, opting to wait until after Election Day to start counting those mail-in ballots. The latest data shows Anne Arundel County received about 50,000 mail-in ballots to count, meaning this process still has several days to go.
The longer it takes to count ballots, the more crazy conspiracy theory stuff happens, and you place more distrust in elections. And you're seeing that right now. Democrats mail in their votes now, and Republicans had some of these early leads, and all of a sudden these leads are going away.
Political analyst John Deedy says Annapolis lawmakers need to find a solution to get results out in a timely fashion after Election Day.
I think you have to take some sort of legislative action to count these things a little quicker.
Meanwhile, voters and candidates wait to learn the outcomes of several races.
As a first-time candidate, I'm very excited and I'm nervous at the same time.
Gary Simmons is a Democrat running to represent District 12B, which covers northern Anne Arundel County. He was there inside the Board of Elections yesterday to watch the canvass.
There definitely is a call for patience here because the process does work.
Yesterday, just 7 votes separated him and his opponent, Republican Ashley Arias. The first batch of mail-in ballot votes reported this morning, now putting Simmons ahead by 90 votes.
Those mail-in ballots are changing a lot of people's lives, and especially they're changing my life as I try to be the next candidate in District 12B.
But he knows there are tens of thousands of mail-in ballots still to be counted.
To look at whether or not we should be counting these ballots prior to and not after, to eliminate this delay or staggered delay that's taking place. These things I think that will be revisited in the future.
And that canvass of mail-in ballots is expected to pick back up at 10 a.m. tomorrow at the Board of Elections in Glen Burnie. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Well, be sure to check out the Fox 45 voter guide for all of our reporting on the midterm election. You can follow the results live as some of those races still come in.
We have a health alert to report to you right now. Maryland hospitals are seeing a steady rise in respiratory illnesses, especially RSV. We've been reporting these cases, and officials say the worst hasn't even gotten here yet.
Yeah, doctors say they're worried about the triple-demic of COVID, flu, and the spike in RSV cases.
Here to speak with us right now is Dr. Teresa Nguyen, interim chair of pediatrics from GBMC. Dr. Nguyen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you give us a big picture of how bad these cases are nationwide and then specifically in Maryland?
Yes, so it started from the southern United States for RSV, and it's traveled its way up to the mid-Atlantic, as well as now spreading up into the northeast of the United States as well. And in Maryland, we saw our surge in RSV cases starting the early October, and our numbers are still rising, but we have the added benefit of influenza. It has just hit Maryland probably in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we are on a significant incline with influenza cases. So we actually have 2 of the 3 buggers at the same time in Maryland right now. So we used to have 2/3 of the cases were RSV and then 1/3 other viruses. That was at the end of September. And now in November, we're having about 1/3 of the cases are influenza, and about 2/3 of the cases are RSV.
And I know kids get sick a lot, especially this time of year. They pick up all those germs. So what are the signs and symptoms that parents should know, especially if they're thinking, do I need to take my child to the hospital or not?
Okay, great. So RSV causes a cold in children and adults. The only children at really high risk are the children under a year of age, children who are premature, children who have chronic underlying lung disease or cardiac disease. And what are the signs that you have to go to the emergency department for these younger children? Difficulty breathing really fast, grunting and pulling your ribs in and out, flaring your nostrils, not being able to eat because you're using all of your energy to breathe. There may be fever, but fever is not the reason to go to the emergency department. Fever just simply means your body is sick and your body is trying to fight off the germs. So it's really difficulty breathing, difficulty sleeping and eating. Those are the children, the infants, who should be seen in the emergency department.
Good information, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Dr. Teresa Nguyen, interim chair of pediatrics at GBMC, and we hope these cases start to dwindle down.
Well, now that we finally know the results of Mayor Brandon Scott's Squeegee Collaborative 4 months after it was created, Fox 45 News is examining all 18 recommendations. Here's the 3 biggest takeaways.
Squeegee kids will be banned from these 6 major intersections. The enforcement starts January 10th. Drivers will also be held accountable for their behavior toward Squeegee kids in the no squeegee zones.
The city will be offering support services. The mayor is calling it Earn and Learn. Squeegee kids will be paid to participate in workforce training for up to a year. Well, tonight, one group is raising the alarm about how the mayor plans to enforce the laws on squeegeeing.
Tom Rogers speaks with a public policy expert about why squeegeeing is being deterred at some corners and not the entire city.
The 27-page Squeegee Collaborative Plan is out right on the Baltimore City's mayor's website. Now, the document tying history from more than 100 years of racism and redlining to problems in certain parts of the city and reasons for the Squeegee kids today. Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy argues there are some major issues, though, with Mayor Scott's argument if he considers Squeegee kids as panhandlers, stating that if Squeegee kids are panhandlers, then they are covered under the First Amendment and free speech. And Kennedy argues Scott can't just pick and choose where free speech can occur.
Is he's picking the whitest, richest parts of the city, the most business-centric districts, and saying you can't go there if you're poor and black and try to solicit money, but you can go to the poor and black areas and harass those motorists, harass those people. So now you're creating a 2-tier system where people who aren't privileged, who aren't wealthy, who don't have power are going to be the subjects of harassment.
Now, this plan also leaves questions about the cost for taxpayers in the future to fund Scott's collaborative Squeegee plan. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Deputy Mayor Faith Leach says enforcement of the ban on squeegeeing will start on January 10th. Anyone squeegeeing in these banned areas would receive a warning from police their first 2 times, with a referral for service on their 2nd time, and for the 3rd time they would get a citation. But at this point, police don't know what that citation will be. Another portion of the plan includes what the mayor calls earn and learn. Squeegee kids who agree to stop squeegeeing will receive financial support for up to 1 year, but they must participate in workforce training and education as a requirement for that program.
That's why they will be connected with a credible mentor or a navigator who will be there through the hard times.
Well, who those navigators are that she mentioned still remain unclear, as well as the price tag of this entire project. Right now, the city estimates it could cost up to $5 million, but they say that could also change. And we don't know where the money will come from. Let's take a closer look at the 6 disallowed zones laid out in this report. That's what they're calling them. They include Conway and Light Streets, where Tim Reynolds was shot and killed this summer after getting out of his car and approaching a group of squeegee kids with a baseball bat, as well as either side of downtown President Street by Little Italy and Harbor East, in the 395 MLK corridor by the stadiums and the University of Maryland Medical Center. There's also a zone in Northeast and Northwest Baltimore. Sinclair Lane and Northern Parkway spots will also be off limits to squeegee kids. So that brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe Mayor Scott's squeegee plan will be fully implemented and work? So far, 96% of you who voted say no. We want to hear from you. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Paying tribute to the nation's heroes, not only by honoring their legacy, but listening to their stories. And coming up, we examine which issues affected the outcome of the midterms the most. Three days after the election, teams are still going through exit polls to break down how people voted. The National Desk Angela Brown looks at which issues generated the most discussion.
The economy, the top issue for voters. No surprise there. It's the issue that came in second, the surprising to political science student Sage Showers.
It turns out that a lot of young women actually did show up in this election because of the perceived threat on our bodily autonomy.
Nearly a third of voters, inflation the top issue, followed by abortion, 27%, possibly helping to catapult Democratic candidates to victory, like Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
And number one, abortion is really the issue, reproductive rights, that got us across the finish line.
Now add more women voters to the mix. NBC's exit polling found that 52% of voters were women, 48% men, leading Obama's former 2012 campaign manager to say this.
Democrats are just overperforming, and once again, it's women who saved us.
Look no further than Pennsylvania's Senate race. Exit polling revealing a majority of female voters went for John Fetterman, who beat Dr. Oz, flipping a GOP Senate seat blue. But others say there's more to this.
I think a lot of people have wondered what happened in Pennsylvania, but one of the things I think we could point to is there were so many early votes that were cast in that state way before the debate happened.
The next test, the runoff in Georgia, exit polling saying the majority of women going for Raphael Warnock. More than half of voters, 45 and older, Herschel Walker. Regardless of who wins in Georgia or really anywhere else, America may lose. NBC's exit poll finds 73% are angry or dissatisfied about the way things are going in the country.
We are still in a very deadlocked position in our federal government. And so I think a lot of Republicans are viewing this election cycle with more pessimism, and a lot of Democrats are looking at it as a win. I think both sides lost.
Exit polling may also spell trouble for President Biden. Across many polls, the majority of voters disapprove of his job in office. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
The Fox 45 Chevy Storm Tracker is live tonight as the evening commute begins. Somewhat on a rainy note, if you have any plans this evening, you do want to take a listen because there could be more rain later this evening. Here's meteorologist Jasmine Lomax.
Yeah, a lot of what we've been seeing has been on the lighter side. It really hasn't been terrible. It's been windy, but the worst of it has stayed to our south.
Which
so
is
that's
good.
Good news
It
for
is good,
us.
Jasmine.
It's very good news for us, but more rain's on the way.
Okay.
We're getting a break from the rain right now, but be prepared closer to midnight. Heavy rain. That's what we could be dealing with, along with gusty winds, as we still deal with the remnants from Nicole and a cold front approaching the state. Here's a look at the HD radar, and you can see it's now pretty dry around the Baltimore area as that rain continues to depart to the northeast. Around the region, the severe threat's starting to diminish. There was a tornado watch for far southern Maryland, Charles and St. Mary's counties. That has since expired, and now, again, the severe threat diminishing, but more rain's on the way. Here's a look at the cold front. That's going to be our next weather maker. And that low pressure system that you see is what's left of Nicole. It's leading to a lot of moisture around the northeastern part of the country. Temperatures right now at 71, still feeling very warm for this time of year. Feels like it's 72 with all of that tropical moisture around the area. Winds are out of the south-southeast around 8 miles and visibility slightly reduced. So take it easy on the roads this evening. Across the state, most of us seeing those temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Will fall a couple more degrees overnight, but overall temperatures way above average for this time of year. We get a break from the rain for the next couple of hours. There could be a few isolated showers, but then the heavy rain starts to move in closer to midnight. This is when we do have the chance for gusty winds as well. We're talking around 30-mile-per-hour winds or even higher than that. Then this all clears as we head to about 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. More clouds arrive by the afternoon, and then a few showers move across the state as we head into the evening and overnight. This clears by Sunday morning, and the rest of the day will be dry, but you will notice a big difference in those temperatures. We're only talking highs topping off around 50. 63 for the low temperature tonight, and then another pretty warm day tomorrow. Highs around 68, and you should be able to enjoy that nice weather until the evening. That's when the rain comes, continuing overnight. Sunday will be cooler, 51 for the high, 50 on Monday with plenty of sunshine. Then as we finish out the upcoming work week, temperatures stay in the 40s and 50s for the highs with lows in the 30s. Back to you.
We have to keep what the veterans do for this country alive.
Paying tribute today to the nation's heroes at Gerstel Academy in Carroll County. They held their annual Veterans Day ceremony, a yearly tradition followed by veterans sharing their service stories. Among them is current Carroll County Commissioner Richard Weaver, who is also an Army veteran.
Service at age 19 was quite a learning experience, and away from home, first time, and it really had an impact on me.
Well, the event was moved inside due to weather, but the morning kicked off with the national anthem and a flag raising. The Black Panther is in Baltimore. This morning, the Propel Center hosted more than 800 Baltimore City students from 5 schools for an exclusive screening of Wakanda Forever at the Senator Theater. Mayor Brandon Scott was there. He says this is more than just a movie. The Black Panther series is a cultural experience.
What this has done for our community is allowed to unlock a lot of pride in the culture. You see folks coming dressed to be kings and queens in Wakanda themselves, reminding us of our heritage in the motherland in Africa, but also connecting with our past, but also with our future.
Apparently someone did find some vibranium in the Senator Theater. Meantime, college funds frozen for months. Coming up at 6 o'clock, an update on the 529 plan for account holders who are still waiting for access. And after 2 back-to-back road victories for the Ravens, they cruise into their bye week on a high note. But next, we're going to show you how Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson made a little boy feel better than any win.
What Lamar Jackson is able to do on the field is incredible, but what he did off of it speaks volumes to the type of person he really is. This viral moment was captured in New Orleans when the Ravens were in town for Monday Night Football. The little boy running up to Lamar and hugging him, that's 8-year-old Landon Berry. Landon suffers from a heart condition and is one of Lamar's biggest fans. Neither could let go. Alex Parker caught up with the Berry family to talk about the moment they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
When he walked into the room, I was shocked. And when I started hugging him, I was like, this can't be Lamar. This has to be a dream.
He had no clue. He had no clue.
And then I was like, this is not a dream then.
I like the jersey too, dog. Wipe the tears, man. Wipe the tears.
There's one thing that I wish I would have got was his face when you see him kind of jump up. And I told my wife last night, I said, you know, that's kind of special as far as I'm concerned, because that's only the face that Lamar seen.
How cool is that? You can catch the full interview with the Berry family Sunday night on Sports Unlimited. Well, it's a big one in College Park as the Maryland women's basketball team welcomes #1 South Carolina to town. This marks the first of 12 ranked matchups for the Terps this year. 6 p.m. tip at Xfinity Center. And coming up tonight, find out if Maryland can take down the top-ranked Gamecocks. Plus, more from the Berry family when Sports Unlimited returns.
Rocco, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, using money taken from drug distributors to fight the opioid epidemic. The pleas from recovery workers on how billions should be spent. And how will the city's Squeegee plan be enforced? We press the mayor for answers.
Live look from the Chevy Storm Tracker as remnants of Nicole are moving through our area right now. The latest conditions and how bad the weather could get later on tonight. Plus, digging deeper into the Squeegee Collaborative's plan, pressing the mayor for details on how these new restrictions will ultimately be enforced. And another gun found in Baltimore City schools. What can be done to make sure children are safe in the classroom?
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maxine Stryker. The Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock starts right now with the exclusive Fox Track, your Baltimore Minute.
Beyond the ban, Squeegee kids who promise to give up the game can participate in a training program. It's still unclear how much money the kids will get or the specific funding sources. We press city leaders on how that will be enforced, ensuring the kids actually stay off the corners.
Yes, that actually is explicitly called out in the plan.
5 people are killed after Hurricane Nicole hits Florida's Atlantic coast. Stretches of coastline were already compromised by erosion from Hurricane Ian in late September.
Governor Ron DeSantis has issued a state of emergency to all counties tonight. Damages estimates are not yet known.
According to a police source, an officer with Baltimore City Schools Police confiscated the gun and some marijuana from the teen during school hours yesterday. A half-dozen guns have been seized from students on city school property less than 3 months into the school year, and comes after a record 15 guns were seized from Baltimore City schools last year.
We're tracking Nicole tonight as the storm impacts our area. That's Towson on the top left and the Inner Harbor on the top right. On the bottom left, the FOX45 Chevy Storm Tracker is keeping us up to the minute on road conditions. And there on the bottom right, we're seeing dreary conditions in Ocean City as well. Let's begin with meteorologist Jasmine Lomax, who's tracking the storm. Jasmine, what can we expect now as we move into our weekend?
Thanks, Maxine. We have a couple more opportunities for rain, and the first comes tonight. Now, we're actually seeing some drier conditions start to move in across the Baltimore area. This will be temporary, and still as you drive, you'll likely be driving on wet roads and maybe through a little bit of drizzle. But notice as we look a little bit farther west, we've got rain there, and that's what's going to head our way later tonight. It's all ahead of this cold front. That will be our next weather maker, bringing a big change by the end of the weekend. And here's a look at that low pressure system. That's what's left of Nicole. So that's all headed our way. Notice the rain extends all the way into New England. So we're seeing the impacts from Nicole expanding all the way into the northeastern part of the country. Now I'll break down the timing of the rain that we could see tonight, along with more rain chances over the weekend and what to expect as the weekend ends coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. As we're hit by the storm tonight, Florida is still recovering. Nicole made landfall there early yesterday morning. As a Category 1 hurricane, it caused severe damage to homes and businesses in the storm's path. Many of those communities still flooded tonight. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Just download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use the radar feature to follow storms right down to your street. Go to the App Store and search for WBFF to get started. We're continuing our coverage tonight on Baltimore's plan to address squeegee kids. Fox 45 News is examining all 18 recommendations from the Squeegee Collaborative, and here are the 3 biggest takeaways. Squeegee kids will be banned from these 6 major intersections. The enforcement starts January 10th, and drivers, they'll also be held accountable for their behavior towards squeegee kids in those no squeegee zones. The city will be offering support services. The mayor's calling it Earn and Learn. Squeegee kids will be paid to participate in workforce training for up to a year. The city admits its plan is now in place, but residents may not see the impact right away. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost pressed the mayor today on the plan's details.
We're starting to get an idea of how exactly this Earn and Learn program will work. It appears as if the money will be given to the organizations doing the training, then passed along to the participants. But it's still not clear exactly how much money the squeegee kids will be making.
Now we're all together. Good afternoon, everyone.
The reaction to the mayor's squeegee plan, banning the activity at some of the most high-trafficked corners in Baltimore, pouring in.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection.
Buried in the pages of the report, coming from 4 months of conversations, are few details for actual implementation. Beyond the ban, squeegee kids who promise to give up the game can participate in a training program. We try to get some clarity on how that exactly will work. Will the kids themselves be getting the money, or will the money be going toward the organizations giving the training? And we still don't have a price tag on that, correct?
Earn and Learn, right? So we have organizations that we have training programs with that the city funds. What will happen through that, as happens in apprenticeships across this country, is that young people who are were squeegeeing that commit to not doing that and commit to the training programs, commit to the entrepreneurship programs, commit to doing that, will receive funding through that action.
It's still unclear how much money the kids will get or the specific funding sources. We press city leaders on how that will be enforced, ensuring the kids actually stay off the corners.
Yes, that actually is explicitly called out in the plan, where you have to commit to not squeegeeing. This is progressive discipline, right? And so when they do wrong, that's when we check them, and that's when we pull them back in. And so, yes, you might lose your incentive, but that doesn't mean that you're going to lose an opportunity.
As for the ban, it begins in January and will come with 2 warnings before a citation is issued. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison makes it clear that is still being developed.
What's the citation that they would get?
We're now developing protocols, policy,
training.
So we asked the mayor Friday.
What will the citation be given for if they don't heed the 2 first warnings?
Right, as the police commissioner said yesterday, exactly what he said is what it's going to be. We know, and we also know that every case is going to be different as well.
BPD said that they were still working on it. They didn't exactly know how it was going to work.
We will do it with the laws on the books, as we said yesterday, and we'll continue to do that.
So the laws on the books are now being enforced, but for the last several months they weren't?
No, Mackenzie. Let's go back again. We enforce laws each and every day. We have a plan. There's support for the plan across the board. So let's have you guys do some responsible journalism and work alongside that plan to talk about how things will change. Thank you.
The plan unveiled, but it's clear the details are not ironed out just yet.
The city says it will be working with various groups to implement those training programs and provide the services to the Squeegee kids, but it's also clear that the framework for actual implementation hasn't been announced yet. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, that brings us now to our question of the day. Do you believe Mayor Scott's Squeegee plan will be fully implemented and work? So far, 95% of those who voted say no. We would like to hear from you. Just go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. A Mervo High School student may be facing charges after a police source confirmed he had a gun and drugs on campus. According to a police source, a Baltimore City Schools officer confiscated the gun and some marijuana from the teen during school hours yesterday. 6 guns have been seized from students on city school property less than 3 months into this school year. A record 15 guns were seized from Baltimore City Schools just last year.
Well, no matter where they are, right? If they're on a bus stop, if they're in a school, if they're in a church, if they're in a mall, we're thankful that our school police and the folks at Mervo have the things available for them to be able to get those weapons, right? That's a critical point for us. But when you have lots of people and you have guns, there's an inherent danger in that.
The student with the gun was taken into custody, but it's unclear if he's facing any charges tonight.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
Breaking tonight, we have new information on a deadly hit and run in Baltimore County. This is what we know. County police say just after midnight, a driver heading west on Pulaski Highway hit a pedestrian between Rosedale Avenue and 68th Street. Police say the driver fled the scene. They are looking for a Chrysler Town & Country minivan with damage to the passenger side headlight and missing mirror. Now, anyone with information about this incident should contact Baltimore County Police. Maxine?
Well, here's a look now at today's top trending stories. Number 1, an update for Maryland 529 account holders whose college funds have been frozen for months. The state agency claims it has a solution to the accounting issue causing the freeze. 2 weeks ago, Maryland 529's board approved changes to how they calculate interest rates. This month, they'll test and confirm those changes. Then finally, in December, account holders should regain access to the money they've been waiting for months now for. However, Maryland 529 still isn't providing parents with any hard deadlines, so it remains unclear when exactly those funds will be made available. Number 2, Baltimore City Schools making some major changes to its COVID-19 policies. On January 3rd, the school system will stop its biweekly COVID screenings. It will also stop notifying families about individual cases, though that information will be available through the school system's online COVID dashboard. Schools will still test kids who are showing symptoms, and you can find more details on the changes at foxbaltimore.com. Number 3, the rain today delaying the start of a holiday tradition in downtown Baltimore. The city did not open the Inner Harbor Ice Rink. It was set to open today for the first time this holiday season. The ice rink will open tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Taking money from companies and using it to help those addicted to their products. The calls from those fighting the opioid epidemic on how billions should be spent. A tight battle for Maryland's 6th congressional district comes to a close. A closer look at how Representative Trone won re-election. All of Maryland's federal elections are now decided. Incumbent Democrat David Trone beats Republican Neil Parrott in District 6, which spans from Montgomery County to western Maryland. Brad Bell has the details.
Democrat David Trone this afternoon happy to have won a third term in Congress.
We're honored. We're grateful to be reelected for the 6th district. Frankly, I think it's a matter of the time that we spent in the district from here to Garrett County.
It was a closer race than many had predicted. A clear factor was that Republican Neil Parrott won a court battle to redraw the 6th district, arguing successfully that the old shape was unconstitutionally gerrymandered to favor Democrats. And even though he's conceded defeat in the election, he says that court win stands.
This whole decade, we're going to have this fair map. And we're going to know every single 2 years that this can be a close race.
Representative Trone says he's eager to get back to work.
We're going to continue to focus on what I call the 3 C's: compassion, civility, and competence. I think that's what I bring to Congress, someone that's really focused in those areas. We got a very nice, gracious call from Neil Parrott conceding, and I told him we're going to continue to work across the aisle.
Ultimately, the difference in this race made in this process, the counting of mail-in ballots, it was expected to be this way. Mr. Parrott had an election night lead, but the mail-in ballots, tens of thousands of them, are coming in at a Democratic rate of just about 80%. That allowed Mr. Trone to pull ahead, and it is expected in the days ahead that his lead will only grow. In Germantown, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Again, that was Brad Bell reporting. We're continuing to track a local race that's still too close to call in the battle for Anne Arundel County Executive. Republican challenger Jessica Hare has a 6,000 lead over incumbent Democrat Stuart Pittman. There are still tens of thousands of votes to count, though. Election officials say it could still be days before we know who won.
Right now, you're taking a look on the HD radar, where we're continuing to track showers, all from the remnants of Nicole over the harbor. Not much to see there. We've got some low visibility, and over Towson, it is a little bit wet on the roadways, but actually starting to dry out. However, we're preparing for more rain ahead of our next weather maker. That's headed our way tonight, so we're not done with the rain just yet. Notice on the HD radar around the Baltimore area, not seeing too much. The showers that we had earlier have departed to the northeast. We are seeing some showers in western Maryland, but those are generally moving to the north. So for a couple more hours, we will stay dry. And great news, that severe threat continues to diminish. The area in yellow, that was a tornado watch, but that has since been canceled. If there is a severe threat, it would likely be south of the state and for parts of Virginia. We still are tracking the chance for rain, and it's all ahead of this cold front. That will bring our temperatures down as we finish the weekend, but also leading to rain across the state, gusty winds as well. Here's a look over the harbor, 70, and that visibility slightly reduced. Expect a little bit of fog outside, and make sure to drive safely. Winds are out of the southeast around 8 miles per hour. Across the state, temperatures mainly in the 60s and 70s. It's been a very warm day, especially for this time in November. It's been a little bit humid, all as that tropical moisture has reached our area. We'll stay pretty mild overnight as temperatures fall to the 50s and the low to mid 60s. Then tomorrow, another warm day. Now, we're continuing to watch for dry weather for the next couple of hours, but that changes as we get closer to midnight. We do have the chance for areas of heavy rain. Flooding's not a big concern, and that is because it's been so dry across the state, but still there is the chance for isolated incidents of flooding. We dry out by 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we'll have plenty of sunshine. Then clouds move in by the afternoon. There is the chance for a few stray showers overnight. Many of us will stay dry, though, as we head into Sunday morning. By daybreak, expect nice and dry weather, sunshine, and much cooler temperatures. We're talking the 40s and the 50s for our highs. So what we have right now, that's the warmest we'll see for those low temperatures. 63 overnight with the chance for areas of heavy rain and wind gusts around 30 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, high temperatures around 68. We'll have sunshine to start, and then by the afternoon, expect more of a mix of sunshine and clouds. It will be breezy at times with gusts around 25 miles per hour. So again, you will have plenty of time to enjoy the nice weather tomorrow. But by the evening, we have that chance for a few showers continuing overnight. And then comes the big cool down for the upcoming week. Coming up, I'll have a look at the exclusive 10-day forecast, and I'll let you know just how low those temperatures will be. Back to you.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
That's not snow, it's hail blanketing the road. And it's not in the mountains, this is central Texas, about 60 miles northwest of Austin. And check out our meteorologist, Chase Thomason, giving his forecast in Salt Lake City while snowboarding at Solitude Mountain. That's not easy. A tip of our cap to Chase, as well as the photographer.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
In your consumer alert, the stock market is celebrating a better than expected inflation report. The rise in costs year over year was lower than expected, coming in at 7.7%. That's a welcome drop from the month prior at 8.2%, but still well above the central bank's preferred rate of 2%.
What's particularly troubling is that the areas where we are seeing the largest and most consistent increases are categories that are absolute necessities.
Yeah, some of those necessities, they include gas, which is up 18%, and food, which is up 11%. Meanwhile, your Thanksgiving feast will cost a few extra bucks this year. Farmers say the cost of feed is rising, cutting into their margin as they try to raise turkeys.
If I have to keep buying expensive feed and it continues to go up, then I have to charge whatever it costs to raise that turkey. And at some point, I just don't know if you could sell them.
The national labor shortage is another challenge as producers say they are struggling to find people to help raise and butcher the turkeys. Calls for billions of dollars to be used to help Americans who are addicted to drugs. How some say federal fines on pharmaceutical companies need to be spent. Next. Some sad entertainment news tonight. Comedian Leo Anthony Gallagher has died. Gallagher was known for his acts of smashing food and other objects, but most famously watermelon. His His manager says he passed away in hospice care in Florida. Gallagher was 76 years old. Well, pharmaceutical companies and drug distributors fined billions of dollars for their role in the opioid crisis. Chet Davis from our Sinclair sister station in Rochester spoke with the director of one of the many recovery centers across the country, hoping the money is used to help those battling addiction.
You know, how do we get them where it hurts? And with these large companies, the only way it's going to hurt is financially.
$12 billion will certainly hurt the bottom line for retailers CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart for allegedly mishandling prescriptions of opioid painkillers.
This is an amazing opportunity for states, counties, municipalities to really put money into recovery services, which I hope that's where it goes.
For Ginger Cato, the director of Rob Constantine Recovery Community and Outreach Center, this money is more needed than ever before.
We have 2 centers. We have more and more people coming through the doors, asking for more services. There are more needs. If we could bring on more staff and expand our centers, we're absolutely going to apply for those monies.
The application process, whether it's applying for grants through the state or local municipalities, is still unclear. What is clear is a need for balanced funding.
Our big ask is, to please, funnel money in our direction. Treatment, very necessary. For a lot of people, it's a pathway that we support for people's recovery. Treatment always has a funding stream. They bill insurance companies. We rely on grants and other funding sources. But treatment is finite. It ends. People go into inpatient, maybe they do 28 days, halfway house, inpatient, outpatient, 6 months to a year, they might be finished with their formal treatment, but their recovery is forever.
Cato says her 2 centers in Fulton and Montgomery counties are expecting additional funding next year from previous settlements stemming from the opioid crisis. More than 3,000 lawsuits have been filed against pharmacies, opioid manufacturers, and distributors, accusing them of downplaying the addiction risks of opioids. Chet Davis, CBS 6 News.
We are in for a big change in our forecast. The first thing that we have is rain coming tonight, and it's all ahead of this cold front. You can see that low pressure system and what's left of Nicole, but that cold front will bring a big change to our region, and you will notice that by the end of the weekend. Tomorrow, though, actually not too bad. Rain will clear by daybreak, and we're talking lots of sunshine to start the day. A few more clouds move in by the afternoon. Temperatures around 68. It'll also be breezy at times. Then overnight, another chance for rain, but that clears by Sunday morning. You will notice the big change, though, in those temperatures. Highs will be around 51. Again, another breezy day. Then on Monday, highs around 50 with plenty of sunshine. Gets even colder, 40s on Tuesday. And we are looking at the chance for a little bit of rain toward the middle of the week. After that, though, notice temperatures stay in the upper 40s and the low 50s. Overnight low temperatures could fall to freezing numbers. Then as we head into the upcoming weekend, no break from the cool temperatures. Will stay in the 40s and 50s. Maxine?
Well, a school resource officer at Howard High School stopping an uninvited visitor from getting in today. This is Cliff Macer, holding a snake he caught as it was trying to rush into the school. That's a big snake. He was sitting in his office when he heard people shouting and saw commotion in the hallway, so he got up, saw the snake, picked it right up and brought it outside to the woods outside of the school. Good for him. It's a lot braver than me. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you again tonight at 10. Have a great night.